Buenas and Hafide Todos Hamzu. Many of God's blessing. Thank you for being here during a holy week. This hearing by the Committee on Public Accountability, Human Resources, and the Guam Buildup is called to order. It is about 1:09 in the afternoon. I apologize for the lateness, but this meeting, public hearing, is called to order. For the record, and in accordance with 5 GCA Chapter 8, subsection 8107, public hearing notices were sent on Monday, April 8th of 2019, adhering to the 5-day notice, and a second public hearing notice on Thursday, April 11th, 2019, which adheres to the 48 hours prior. In addition, this hearing was noticed on the Guam Legislature's website, www.guamlegislature.com. Written testimonies may be submitted by emailing to speaker@guamlegislature.org, or you may hand deliver it to our office at 163 Chalan Santo Papa, Hagåtña, Guam. Joining me this afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and Senator Jim Moylan, Sijulis Masi, for being here with us, and I'd like to thank him for being here. On the agenda, ladies and gentlemen, we have first, the appointment of Juan K. Calvo as member of the Civil Service Commission for a term length of 6 years, and also the appointment of Priscilla T. Tuncup as a member of the Civil Service Commission for a term length of 6 years also. And based on the lineup on the public hearing, we will go ahead and hear the appointment of Mr. Juan K. Calvo. And as I call your name, for purposes, I would go ahead and ask that you come up to the table to present your oral testimony. If you're here just to, I have 3 pages for Mr. Calvo. If you'd like just to support, as I call your name, you can say just support, and we'll note it for the record. I will advise the body that's here that we do have our listening audience listening to it on our legislative channel, so we are on live. I will call upon Mr. Daniel D. Leon Guerrero to come up, please. Juan K. Calvo himself, he can go ahead and take a seat. Julie Kanata, Louis Baza, Doris Calvo, would you like to come up or here for support? Julie Kanata, are you here for support or to speak? For support? Is it Jamie Balan? Huh? Jonery? Oh, Jonery? Are you here for support, or would you like to? Okay. Jonathan Calvo? Support, thank you. Is that a Michelle Calvo? Support, thank you very much. So I see is it Dijon or is it Dijonery? I said that earlier, so then there's another name. Is it Jamie? Jomi? Balan is the last name. Support. Thank you. Also, there's several more seats up here. Leanne Santos? Leanne Barcinas Santos? Support. Daniel Santos? Support. Thank you. That looks like a Richard Barcinas. Support? Thank you. Roland Farron? For support as well. We've got the chair. Vicky Sablon? Support? Thank you very much. Christine Kanata? Am I saying that right? For support. And then we have Crescinda Uggan. Please join us on the table. If there anyone else here wishing to speak on behalf of Mr. Calvo, please do not hesitate to check our committee staff. You can more or less sign up or raise your hand, and we'll go ahead and entertain you on the panel table this afternoon. Everybody, okay? If not, I will go ahead. Before Mr. Calvo, I'll have you speak at the end. I'll go ahead and yield to the chair, and then to the executive director, and then to the missus here. Okay. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairman, Madam
Okay.
Speaker, and Senator Moylan, and the 35th Guam Legislature. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to provide testimony on Mr. John K. Calvo to be a Commissioner of Civil Service Commission. As you know, I mentioned in the past, I've been coming over here about the role of Civil Service Commission, the safeguarding the merit system in this government. Does it work? It does work. And it appears that, and I want to thank the Governor, Lou Leon Guerrero, and Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenori for, continually nominating professionals to work with us to ensure that we have 7 board members in our commission, and it's just better balance, to have 7 people in that board. We are almost there, Mr. Calvo, I know him when I was the former executive director. He was my assistant, so he actually, understands the full range of personnel management. He brings to the table, his degree in business administration and specializing in personnel management. So he's got that know-how, in that area. And while I was with him and the team, we actually really policed the merit system. We were post-auditing everything. With his leadership as the personnel administrator, he took his staff and went all over the place in this whole government, and we were rocking and rolling and making sure that people are, and keeping people in check, that they must adhere to the merit system. And they review all personnel actions government-wide, and it's different when you have 11 analysts for the government of Guam. That's huge, because we even handle the autonomous agency. So Mr. Calvo, played a vital role with me on that, because he's the administrator and he oversees the staff, making sure he manages and make the appointments for all these department heads. And if we see anything that is in violation, he will actually take the action. Another thing that John has is, training and development. We actually have done training. He spearheaded that, with grievance and adverse action, because we think that in government, sometimes management don't really understand the 60-day rule, and progressive disciplinary action. So, unlike the private sector, it's at will provision in the government as a merit system. So we conducted training with the Department of Administration in grievance and adverse action, and John took the lead on that one. He also, I consider him and the rest of the staff, but with his leadership, I consider him one of the job matter experts for the Hay chart methodology, profile methodology. We were trained by Washington, D.C., the Hay group by Steve Caddy, and he came out here and he conducted training, and he's one of the resident experts, that can measure jobs. Although the commission is not responsible for position classification and compensation, we do have post-audit authority, and we can actually go in there and see too. So now that we have some analysts there, when a new compensation study comes to Guam, I would recommend that they will attend it, and Mr. Leon Guerrero will be there with that, because we need to understand, how they're measuring these jobs these days. It's interesting with Mr. Calvo, because when he was my administrator, we would go have lunch, and he'll actually measure people. He evaluates people just sitting down eating lunch. And he tells me the numbers and their problem solving, their accountability. And so, that's how you gain the skills in Hay methodology, by practicing it all the time. When he travels, he's measuring the flight attendants, believe it or not. And he tells me, and he's laughing, So, that's the practice of knowing the guide chart profile, There's one other thing that he's got that I'm not too sure if people know about this, but I actually saved some money, because John outside of being an expert in HR, he's also a carpenter. He knows how to do carpentry work. And when we have issues at Civil Service Commission, I look at him and he said, we can do this, man. We don't have to go to GSA or anywhere. We can actually do this. And he will do it for love. And we've actually, I call it love time, So he actually does that. And, he actually even built houses for his family, his children. This guy has got some skills in that area too. So, and I also want to thank his wife, Doris, and his children for, letting him provide, community service for Civil Service Commission, because the commission is not an easy task. I mean, just last week I was at Revenue and Taxation and I saw a gentleman that had lost his case, and he looked at me and he said, you know who I am, right? And I looked at him and he said, you know who I am, right? I said, I know who you are. So see, we're a resident of Guam. We see people out there in our day-to-day lives, and some of them love us, some of them hate us. But we're not pro-management or we're pro-employee. We're pro-merit system. We're right in the middle of the scale. So I, as well as the other commissioners, wholeheartedly support John Calvo to be a commissioner for Civil Service Commission. And thank you, and God bless.
Sitos Masi, Mr. Baza. I also have Mr. Jess Cadahay. Would you like to support, or I invite you to the table? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Cadahay. Mr. Leongara, state your name for the record.
Thank you, Alpha Day Speaker Barnes and Senator James Moylan. Thank you for the opportunity here to testify in favor of John's nomination to be a commissioner. Mr. Calvo actually started his career as a teacher, and later on he turned into HR, and he became he spent 29 years, 11 years with Human Resources Division of the Department of Administration as a personnel specialist and a personal services. And eventually, he was in charge of government-wide classification program. That was a difficult program. And what I know about John was that he was such a hardworking guy. He had a schedule set up, and almost every department and agency under his watch were audited and properly classified. It's just unbelievable, John's work there. I was just amazed, because prior to John, it was a difficult thing to do, but John made a point to make sure that everybody was audited and properly paid and classified. Later, John was promoted to a management analyst 3 to the Civil Service Commission. When he first got there, I was happy because John was one of the resource people I would always go about new laws, Attorney General's opinions, and so forth, because things are always moving, very complex at the Civil Service Commission. You need to be on top of everything. And John was the guy that I know that I can count on. And if he doesn't know, he'll find out. He'll actually go out of his way to update me and call me up and say, "Dan, this is the way it is." And I really appreciate that, John. Eventually, John, when he came to civil service also, we were like a monastery. Everybody was quiet. People were quiet. And when John first appeared on the scene, it was unbelievable, because here he comes in and he goes, "Good morning, and we're just like, "Hey, John, is everything all right?" And after a while, we got used to it, and we look forward to John because he had a very nice personality. And our job at the Civil Service Commission is not easy. When we do our job, we make people are not too happy, or some are happy. But it was a tough job, and it was quite a relief to have someone coming there with a nice personality. Eventually, he became the personal services administrator, and I worked under John. And I like John, again, because he was very thorough. in reviewing matters, making sure that we follow all the laws, rules, regulations, and all the possibilities that and factors in order to come up with our recommendation. And a lot of our recommendations has to do with pay, classification, and stuff like that. Also, as the administrator at Civil Service Commission, he handled the government-wide personnel programs, classification, rulemaking, post-audits of personal actions, and all Civil Service Commission appeals and complaints. It was a tougher commission then. It was a tough place to work. Mr. Calvo also graduated from Father Duenas Memorial High School. He earned a bachelor's degree in business administration, specializing in personnel management. Mr. Calvo, as the chairman of the Civil Service Commission mentioned, is an expert in pay position evaluation. He also is certified. He possesses extensive experience and knowledge of also the government-wide classification and compensation plan. Mr. Calvo's specialized experiences in management and the handling of adverse actions, grievance, EEO, and performance evaluation and other appeals. As a case manager, the Civil Service Commission augments his skills and knowledge to adjudicate appeal cases filed with the Civil Service Commission. Mr. Calvo is exceptionally qualified to serve as a commissioner. Mr. Calvo's paramount knowledge of Governor Guam HR makes him a seamless match to perform the duties and responsibilities of a commissioner. Based on Mr. Calvo's achievements and dedication to public service, I fully support Mr. John K. Calvo's confirmation. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Ms. Hug?
Hafa Speaker and Senator James Moylan, thank you for the opportunity. Although I can attest to my dad's work ethic, I'd like to speak on the lighter side of him. So if you give me that time. It is with great pleasure that I submit my letter in support of the nomination of Juan Kisa Calvo to the Civil Service Commission Board. Juan, otherwise affectionately known as Dad, is an example of hard work, perseverance, integrity, and passion. As a migrant from the CNMI, my father knew the value of hard work way beyond his time. Not knowing English and without the presence of his parents, my father put himself through private school at a young age, working at his sister's village store to pay his monthly tuition. As a graduate of Father Duenas Memorial Catholic School, he moved on to working and attending the University of Guam. Perseverance allowed him to become the first and only degree holder in his family, at that time majoring in public administration while working to support himself and his family. My father moved on to making his way through government career, protecting the integrity of the merit system as practiced. His passion led him to retire with over 30 years of devotion to the government of Guam, promoting positive human resources practices and improving Guam personnel. Through his years of experience and institutional knowledge as a former Department of Administration personnel specialist, Department of Administration supervisor, Civil Service Commission analyst, and subsequently retirement as a Civil Service administrator, there is no other I know more accomplished, knowledgeable, and able to represent the government of Guam and its employees with integrity and responsibility. So with this, I once again encourage you to confirm the nomination of my dad, Mr. Juan Kisa Calvo, to the Civil Service Commission Board. Thank you.
For the record.
My name is Crisinda C. Uggan.
Thank you, Crisinda. Before I have the panel members leave, I'd like to ask my colleague, Senator James Moylan, do you have any questions for them? No, okay. Thank you. You're more than welcome to either sit with Mr. Calvo while he does his presentation, or you're more than welcome to take your seats again. But Mr. Calvo, you are up. Consegui, por favor.
Buenas de saludo, Madam Speaker and committee members of the 35th Guam Legislature. My name is Juan K. Calvo, a nominee to be a board member of the Civil Service Commission. My nomination was approved and submitted by our Governor of Guam, Magahaga Liu Longarero, on March 21st, 2019, as required by the Organic Act of Guam and Guam laws. I appear before you for advice and consent as mandated under the Organic Act of Guam and Guam laws. Madam Speaker and committee members, I am very honored and humbled to be considered a member of the Civil Service Commission. The Civil Service Commission is my home, where I grew up professionally for years, and that I will forever cherish it. The question asked, why do you want to go back and be a member of the Civil Service Commission after retirement? My response to my friends, to continue protecting the merit system as embedded in our Constitution, Organic Act of Guam, and Guam laws, and Title IV, Guam Code Annotated, and Rules and Regulation. In short, it's all about due process. My resume provided to the committee is a testimony of my years working professionally in the human resources at the Department of Administration and Civil Service Commission, covering classification compensation plan for the government of Guam, conducting post-audit investigation on employees' person action for compliance with personal laws and rules and regulations, interpret and administer personal law and rules with the government of Guam employees and management, involved in providing administrative support work on adverse action, employees' grievances, equal employment opportunity, American Disability Act, Employees Protection Act known as the Whistleblower, Mini Hats Act, and other appeals filed with the Civil Service Commission Board, and conducting employees and executive management training on adverse action, employees' grievances appeal, classification and compensation procedure, using the HAY methodology and perform other human resources as required. Interaction and sharing my knowledge and skill and abilities in human resources with management and employees was a rewarding experience in my entire employment careers. And aside of being a human resources practitioner, I had the opportunity to teach and educate our elementary children with math subject for 2 years at M. Yulhan Elementary School, Government of Guam. I have gained my professional working experience, as stated above, for more than 34 years with trust and confidence by the Department of Administration Management, Civil Service Commission Board, and management, and most of all, the people of Guam, the taxpayers. Now I want to return to service back to our government by serving as a board member of the Commission, and to continue carrying the torch of merit system and due process under the law and rules. Madam Speaker and committee members, with the power vested upon you under the Organic Act of Guam and Guam laws, I pray for your consideration and confirmation in appointing me as a member of the Civil Service Commission. I will be happy to answer any question as it deemed appropriate. Sindangkula na si Jesus Masi, sinceramente go siwan.
Ben Pubetsu, Mr. Calvo, but Esti. I will go ahead and open the discussion with my colleague, Senator Jim Moylan. Would you like to state a comment or ask a question to Mr. Calvo?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Calvo, congratulations. Welcome back from retirement. I'm glad you're nominated. You had excellent recommendations from the panel here. Of course, your experience is more than fitting for the position, and the director even said you're basically extraordinary. So I'm glad at that. I'm looking forward to you doing great things, again, for the people of Guam, and hopefully I can talk to you before my next flight so I can learn more about the Hayes Guide to Methodology. I would be interested on that. So congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Sijus Masi, Mr. Moylan, Mr. Calvo, I want to say undonklu na Sijus Masi for coming back and stepping up to the plate and heeding the call of our Magahaga Governor Lulian Guerrero to come back and give of your time now for labor of love. And I see your family in the background, your children, your in-laws. I want to say, Undonklo na si Diyos masi, but Esti said, Mr. Calvo's coming back and he's not going to get paid. It's labor of love, and you guys all understand that. But more importantly, as I see your chair, the executive director here, your daughter, I want to say it means a lot that you come up to the plate, you step up to the plate, you want to continue to give back. You understand the process. We go back since 1982 when I was in the public defender's office, and I just want to say, Mr. Calvo, thank you. Having you with your expertise, working closely with a team that you've been working for over decades, it truly brings back the spirit of and the institutional knowledge that our Civil Service Commission had for many years. And I know with all your hard work and your tireless hours of reading all the reports to truly understand what an employee has to go through and make decisions based on the fate that they have to journey may not always be easy. Sometimes they win, our employees win, and sometimes they don't. So those hard decisions that you have to make on behalf of that employee who works for the government of Guam is literally much to be desired, because you guys do the hard work while others can't. And I just want to say thank you for coming back to be a part of the team. You will have my support. I will try and make this go on the April session. I should know that the timeline for the committee report is tonight, so I'm hoping that our committee members will work diligently harder tonight to make sure that your packet is completed for the April session. So, Undonklo na si Diyos masi tatlu, happy Easter, and God bless you all for such an awesome presentation this afternoon.
Thank you very much.
We will call our next nominee, and I know some of you may need to stay on the table. And before I put forward Auntie Priscilla Tuncap, please come forward. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm looking out in the audience, and I just want to recognize one of my former bosses with the Public Defender Service Corporation, Mr. Eric Miller. Thank you for being here this afternoon for the hearings, and thank you for your support. And I just wanted to make sure I acknowledge you and wish you a happy Easter, boss. Thank you. Here to support Mrs. Tuncap, I have Mr. Louis Baza, Mr. Chair, Mr. Daniel Leon Guerrero, Executive Director, Ms. Julie Canata here for support also, thank you. Vicky Sablan here for support. Christine Canata here for support, thank you. And Mr. Roland Farron, are you here for support also? Sidzuas Masi, just to note for the record and the listening audience, these folks all are here to support Mrs. Tuncap in her endeavor to be a member of the Civil Service Commission. And I asked at this time, Auntie Dispensao, I asked the chair and the executive director to speak first before you do your testimony. Okay. Por favor, Mr. Chair, consiga mona, please submit your name for the record, and then you can speak.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and again, Senator Moylan, for giving me the opportunity to provide testimony to, our Commissioner, Priscilla Tuncap. Commissioner Tuncap, when I started in 2003 until the present time, she was there already. So I consider Ms. Tuncap my mother of Civil Service Commission. She's been there for a long time. She's got passion. She deliberates with facts. She reviews her packets, and whether it's whether we all agree or disagree with her, she deliberates based on her own conscience, and that's the very important aspect of Commissioner Tuncap. She's got tenure. I know her personally when I was a baby in human resources at the Guam Memorial Hospital Authority. And I remember, Madam Speaker, your mother put me in HR, so that's where I started human resources. And Commissioner Tuncap was our budget officer. certifying budget officer at Guam Memorial Hospital, a real well-respected lady, you know. I mean, she worked with my sister, and I used to say, you know, that lady is smart. She knows what she's doing, you know. So from there, when we have cases that deals with payroll or numbers, I look at her because I know that she's our job matter expert for numbers as well. So I'm very happy again that Governor Lou Leon Guerrero and Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio reappointed her again to come back to us, because she's still got a lot of energy to give to us, and she still we need her there. We need her to provide that tenure knowledge. You know, she's known all these cases before us. It's a good fit for us to have her with us. So I myself and other commissioners wholeheartedly support Commissioner Tunkap to come back, and pray that this her reappointment will be done as soon as possible. Thank you very much, and Sidus Masia.
Buen provecho, Mr. Chair. Mr. Leon Guerrero.
My name is Daniel Leon Guerrero. I'm the Executive Director of the Civil Service Commission. I'm the Hafa talo the bago pa testify pa si Priscilla Tunkap. Mrs. Tunkap has an extensive history working as a Commissioner of Civil Service Commission, going far back as 24 years. In March 1995, Ms. Tunkap was the first appointed as acting commissioner to the Civil Service Commission Board. Mr. Vicente B. Perez, chairperson of the Civil Service Commission Board, submitted a written endorsement of Ms. Tunkap dated April 27, 1995. In part, Chairperson Perez wrote, Mrs. Tunkap has shown herself to be both perceptive and insightful in addressing complex matters brought to the Commission. In summary, Ms. Priscilla T. Tunkap has my personal confidence that she will prove to be truly outstanding Civil Service Commissioner with her years of experience and service to the Commission. Therefore, I strongly urge the legislature to make this possible by confirming her appointment to the Civil Service Commission. Mrs. Tunkap was subsequently confirmed and now has been serving for about 4 consecutive 6-year terms, successfully fulfilling her obligations in the adjudication of Civil Service Commission appeals and complaints. It is noteworthy to affirm that Mr. Chairman Perez's perception of Commissioner Tunkap is of great regard. Mrs. Tunkap has also, in addition to that, 25 years of fiscal experience working her way up the ladder hierarchy, starting as a bank teller at Bank of America, payroll clerk at Department of Finance, Government of Guam, payroll supervisor, University of Guam, budget certifying officer at Guam Memorial Hospital, and Chief Fiscal Officer at the Guam Legislature. Based on Mrs. Tunkap's approximately 24 years of public service and given her commitment to the longest-serving commissioner of the Civil Service Commission, I wholeheartedly support her reconfirmation. Thank you, Danklu Nazus Maasif.
Buen provecho, Mr. Leon Guerrero. Por favor, Mrs. Priscilla Tunkap, consigue mo.
Sidus Maasif, Madam Speaker. Yung konsentio pa bibisita pa ako ng Talwani. Maktuto pa behu solicita iadzudumo. Zani pinasensya mo na unain ni supportemo tabe continua estinatozo. Govzao estinatozo. Sidus Maasif.
Hago mas buen provecho sign up at the Zomu volunteerism. Senator Moylan, would you like to comment on Mrs. Tunkap?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mrs. Tunkap, congratulations again. Obviously, 24 years of extensive history with this commission is a great deal of knowledge, and that you're willing to come back and continue. We thank you so much. The 95 letter saying you were enthusiastic then, and you must love what you're doing because you're just as enthusiastic today. Plus, I always believe it's always good to listen to your mother, and you are definitely considered the mother of the Civil Service Commission, so I hope everybody continues to listen to you. Thank you for accepting the nomination. Congratulations.
Si Diyos Masi, Senator Moylan, Mrs. Tuncap, Nyora, Saina Masi patudo estiu agradeci iset somo para comunidad. From my heart to yours, as the mother of the Civil Service Commission, giving over 66 decades of government and public service to the community of Guam, and finding it in your heart to continue to give, I want to say thank you. I thank the governor and lieutenant governor for continuing to provide our employees of the government of Guam and the Civil Service Commission family the opportunity to seek the appointment of you as a commissioner to bring and serve with respect, to serve with understanding, to serve with institutional knowledge, to serve with an excellent team. And I want to say that we couldn't, as a government of Guam, couldn't ask for a better candidate who's dedicated most of her life to giving back for our government employees. So God bless you on this Easter week. You have my full support. I truly appreciate all the information and the knowledge that I've had from you in the past, to your team, to your Civil Service Commission family. Thank you. As part, when in my other life as an employee to the Public Defender's Office and being the EEO's representative, I've had my communications and worked closely with the Civil Service Commission family, and I'm very aware of the expertise that all of you provide and the attentiveness that you provide for every employee who really has to go through that process. So again, I much admire the work that you do, and I know that it would be in the best interest for them. So I want you to know that you got my wholeheartedly support. I want to say for the record that both the confirmation hearings for Mr. Juan Calvo and Mrs. Priscilla Tuncap has been publicly heard. I will note for the record that if there's anyone wishing to provide further testimony, they can do so by sending it to speaker@guamlegislature.org, or you may hand deliver it to 163 Chalin Santo Papa, Hagåtña, Guam 96910. I will leave the record of decision open for a couple of more days. Like I've noted to each and every one of you and to our listening audience, that I'm asking that I will try and make it a point to put both confirmations on for the April session. So until the April session, I will keep the record open. I also, for the record, would like to acknowledge the presence of some key senior staff to the Imagahaga, the Chief of Staff, former Assistant Director of Interior, Tony Babata, Sisus Masi for being here, Mr. Adrian Cruz also from the Governor's office. Thank you for being a part of supporting the efforts of both Mr. Calvo and Mrs. Tuncap. With that being said, if there's nobody else wishing to present oral testimony for either appointments, I will call this public hearing on public accountability, human resources, and the Guam buildup adjourned, and it is 1:50 p.m. Si Diyos Masi, and happy Easter each and every one of you again. Saina Masi. Thank you.